cravings, intense cravings. And that's the hallmark of addiction. So even though we didn't ask for it, nobody ever called us up and said, do you want to be overeating compulsively? Wouldn't that be fun? No, we never agreed to this. This happened in the mid-1980s when the tobacco industry, masters of cravings, masters of business models, addiction business models. These are the people who got most American adults to smoke, and they took their business model over to processed foods in the mid-1980s.
We're bringing healthy back. Them other bros don't know about the facts.
Welcome, everyone, to the Magic of Metabolic Health podcast, episode 16, I believe. Or are we on 17? I think we're on 17. Where optimized metabolic health is our goal, and we are here to get you there. My name is Amelia Wood, and I am a food-first personal trainer and metabolic health enthusiast. Here at the Magic of Metabolic Health podcast, we are building a village that encompasses every part of who you are. We release guilt and shame and the quest for perfection, and show you how self-efficacy and knowing your why are crucial tools in sustainable behavior change and optimizing your metabolic health. So today, Dr. Fumi, my co-host, is out of the office, but I have the privilege and the luxury to interview one of my favorite PhDs, Dr. Joan Ifland. So hello, Joan.
Hey there. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for taking the time. I know you're a busy lady and you're doing good work all the time everywhere. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I usually have an official bio, but I'm just going to let you introduce yourself and then we'll get into the first question. But I do know that you have a PhD, but tell us a little bit more about it.
All right. I have one of two PhDs in the world in addictive nutrition. Kathleen Day Maison, who wrote Potatoes Not Prozac, came from the same school that I did, and they're not offering that degree anymore. So we're it. My undergraduate degree is in economics and political science from Oberlin College. I have an MBA from Stanford, and I have been, I've been in this field of food addiction for 29 years. I really set out 28 years ago to create the scientific basis for the field. I spent 3 years getting the PhD and then 3 years writing the textbook for the field. So this is a 240,000 word textbook. It took me 3 years full time to write it and research it. But now we know, there's just no doubt about it. This is a real syndrome. It's been illustrated in many different kinds of research, and they all come out to the same place. The brains of people who are eating a lot of processed foods look like the brains of people who have been subjected, given cravings, intense cravings. And that's the hallmark of addiction. So even though we didn't ask for it, nobody ever called us up and said, do you want to be overeating compulsively? Just like, wouldn't that be fun? No, we never agreed to this. This happened in the mid-1980s when the tobacco industry, masters of cravings, masters of business models, addiction business models. These are the people who got most American adults to smoke, and they took their business model over to processed foods in the mid-1980s. And all you have to do really to understand what's happened to us and to the world is ask yourself, why would the tobacco industry, this is R.J. Reynolds and Philip Morris, why would they suddenly, in 3 short years, buy Kraft, Nabisco, and General Foods? Why would they do that? It's because they saw an opportunity to give Americans, once again, and increasingly the world, intense cravings for a worthless product. So they gave millions of people around the world intense cravings for cigarettes. Cigarettes are worthless. They're incredibly destructive. We know with clarity the story about cigarettes, but we don't know commonly the story about processed foods. It is emerging now. The researchers are all over this. I have a relatively new video showing the relationship of processed foods to 20 chronic illnesses. Processed foods are much more destructive than cigarettes. They're marketed more aggressively. They're marketed at younger ages, and they're cheaper, and they're everywhere, and they're used socially extensively, et cetera, et cetera. So this craving disorder, if you will, is much more vicious, it's more destructive, it's more powerful, it's more widespread, it's causing more deaths than cigarettes ever did, and people just don't have any idea. Yeah. So
I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, I remember when I first saw you speak at the Metabolic Health Symposium in Bellevue, Washington. I believe that was 2019. And you blew my mind because I never thought that the tobacco industry had anything to do with our problems with food, with how we consume it, what we consume. Why would I? Like, why would most of us? And so I just want to share that there are people watching this right now who've probably never heard what you're saying, and it might be hard to believe, but let me tell you, I've seen you, the audience, I've seen Joan speak enough. I've sat in on her support programs. This woman knows her stuff.
Thank
And
you.
Joan, you're not the only one, right? It's not like you're some random person who believes this one thing that no one else believes. It's been proven. There's historical evidence on how the tobacco industry got into food. And you briefly touched on it. And we won't get into all the details and the history, but I will be sure to leave links to your program and then historical online resources for people to learn more. There's plenty of articles, probably by Nina Teicholz as well, about this history that is just heartbreaking. So since we don't have a ton of time today, I want to get into some personal things because I think it's important here at the Magic of Metabolic Health to help ourselves and our audience understand that we're all just human and we're all doing our best.
Yeah.
And so we always ask our guests right off the bat, where did you grow up and what kind of food environment did you grow up in? Because that's where we're really introduced to addictive behaviors, right?
This addiction is typically imparted in utero and then maintained either through sugary baby formula or the mother is eating sugar and it's coming through the breast milk. So this is the only addiction where the baby is born addicted and is maintained addicted. So I was one of those babies. My grandfather owned a candy store. My mother was sugar caffeine addicted. And I grew up in a household where, my mother was a modern woman, and that meant you used convenience foods. So we had that big block of highly processed cheese in the refrigerator, and we had the dairy, and we had the white bread, we had the sugar, we had the juice concentrate, we had the jelly, we had the margarine. We had it all. We had the ice cream in the freezer, and we had canned soups for lunch, and we had the breakfast cereals. And we would eat those breakfasts, those lunch, and then we would fight. I had an older sister and a younger brother, and I grew up in a household where the children were fighting all the time. The parents were fighting all the time. The parents were fighting with the children. And now I know that processed foods elevate adrenaline. They destabilize blood glucose. They downregulate the part of the brain where we're supposed to feel good. And so these three destabilizing factors were a constant presence in my growing up. And processed foods activate the stress pathways in the brain. The stress pathways are sending signals to the adrenal glands to release adrenaline, try to get your blood glucose up. It's a nightmare. And nobody knew. Nobody knew how to help us. My mother actually went in the 1960s to get therapy, which was a shameful thing in those days. And we were just told nonsense. The psychiatrist who worked with the social worker who worked with us never asked us one word about the food we were eating. And my sister gained weight in high school, and the psychiatrist who my parents were going to advised them to beat her to get her food under control. It's like, you must be kidding. It was just a nightmare, and it went on for years. Then my children growing up, fortunately, I figured out the sugar and flour and the raging piece when I was 44 years old, and my children were 11 and 12 years old. And I just grabbed onto it. It was actually the release from raging that got me into this field 29 and a half years ago. It's going to be 30 years next January. But it was January 18th, 1996. I had eliminated sugars and flours at the beginning of the month to lose weight. And great, I was losing weight. But what I totally didn't expect is that I would lose the headaches and the brain fog and the fatigue and the sinus infection and the allergies. I had no idea that any of those were related to processed foods. And then on January 18th, when I realized I'd stopped yelling at my family, I said to myself, you've got to tell the world. And now I'm the daughter of a researcher, so I became a researcher. He was a meticulous researcher. I'm a meticulous researcher. I don't like doing anything unless I've got a study to show it. But the research is all there. So 3 years of reading research for the PhD program, another 3 years of reading research to write the textbook. And now I'm still publishing papers. I'm 73 years old, and I feel like I have more energy, more clarity than I ever have in my life. Now I will say, in our online community, we have a new method for resolving trauma using peer support methods. And so having a lot of my trauma resolved growing up in this very angry household has liberated me from anxiety and anger to a new depth. Grief, sadness, depression, those things are lifting. And I'm kind of like, I'm a person now that I don't think I could have imagined, where my food is great, I'm in a new relationship, and I'm having the time of my life. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so number one, it's never too late.
No.
You've taught me that.
No.
It's never too late.
No.
And that gem you said, release from raging.
Mm-hmm.
That's magical right there.
Yes,
release
it feels
from
magical.
Raging.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why we call this the magic of metabolic health. The magic of metabolic health.
It's a great name. People have no idea. They're told, oh, this is genetic, or oh, this is just you. You have this addictive personality, or They have all these words that they put on it. And then people come into a recovery program, like we have a comprehensive recovery program, and they find out that it's all reversible. It definitely feels like a miracle. And sometimes it does feel like magic. It's a great name, Amelia.
Thank you. Well, Fumi and I toiled over the name of this podcast for quite a while, and I'm very happy what we landed on. And I do want to make sure you understand how many times I refer to you in our other interviews and episodes, because you not only just opened a whole new world to me back in 2019, but I realized that I wanted to help people, right? And I didn't know how to do it. And you said, don't waste your time getting a 4-year degree or becoming a doctor, any of that stuff. Do programs, do certificate programs that you trust, that you enjoy, that have proper science-based education, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to give you credit also for me being here now, because now
thank you.
I am a certified personal trainer. I am on my way to becoming a certified behavior specialist and a whole bunch of other stuff. But behavior change is a big part of our podcast. We always talk about that because behavior change is the biggest piece of the puzzle, I think, when it comes to our metabolic health, right? And so I've name dropped you anytime mirror neurons get brought up, and I'd love for you to shortly, quickly share, how your programs are rooted in this concept of mirror neurons and peer support and building a healthy community.
Yeah, thank you. So, over these almost 29 years, I've just read thousands of studies, mostly just the abstract, sometimes diving into the whole study. But every time I learned something, every time there was a finding, I translated it into practice. And as a result, last fall, almost a year ago, we were awarded a patent. We were awarded a patent for our method of putting chronic illnesses into remission. And at the core of it, as you're saying, is mirror neuron functioning. What I learned, not from writing the textbook, but from the first day that we had a Zoom program, which was January 1st, 2018, that mirror neurons dominate human behavior. And once you know that, then, oh my gosh, I can't tell you, I've talked to thousands of people who are just like, I know better, but I can't do better. I have all this knowledge. I've studied, I have all these certifications, but I don't have control of my own food. Well, it's because your knowledge is in this little teeny tiny frontal lobe, but your behavior is being controlled by the midbrain, and the midbrain is being controlled by the food industry and the tobacco industry and the entertainment industry and the medical industry. There are many industries profiting from your cravings. So cravings happen in the midbrain. The food industry, with its addiction business model, has learned how to trigger your brain into flooding with cravings. And those cravings, neurotransmitters, they walk right across your brain over to your behavior centers, and they can latch on to those behavior centers and control the behavior. This is called, the technical term is called instrument transfer. But the food industry does this by triggering, cueing, messaging, signaling. First, it's Pavlovian conditioning to sensitize dopamine and serotonin and endocannabinoids and opioids. All of the craving pathways are sensitive now to some kind of processed food, and they flood the brain with cravings which control behavior. On top of that, you have dieting and fasting. And dieting and fasting activate the fear of famine brain way back here. This is the primitive brain. Primitive brain, 7 million years old. Midbrain, 3.5 million years old. Frontal lobe, 200,000 years old. The frontal lobe is never going to dominate the midbrain and the primitive brain. It's too tiny and it's too new. And all of the life maintenance functions are in the midbrain and the primitive brain. So in terms of survival hierarchy, your frontal lobe is never going to win. So how do you overcome cravings? And now, with the amount of dieting and fasting people have done, the fear of famine brain is often dominant because it is protecting you against starving to death. When you don't eat enough chronically because you're dieting or because you're fasting, that fear of famine brain kicks in. It's a survival response to there not being enough food. And you know you're in a survival brain because you're thinking about food constantly. It's aggravating the craving brain and vice versa. And then when you do find food, you eat it quite quickly. That is the survival brain, because when there's not enough food for these 7 million years before we started organizing into cities, which only happened about 15,000 years ago, you have you're in a tribe, and your tribe is looking for food. If there's not enough food and you find food, your survival strategy is to eat that food as fast as you can before somebody else from your tribe can find it, or before a predator finds you. You want to eat it as fast as you can and then run away and hide. You don't want your tribe to know that you ate all the food, and you don't want that predator to find you. Well, that is the only part of the brain, the fear of famine brain is the only part of the brain that will dominate the mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are essential for survival. When you're out in the wilderness, humans are small mammals. We cannot fight off a larger mammal, but we can in a group. So if you're off by yourself, you could be a hyena's lunch. But if you're in your tribe, if you're with your group, they will fight off the hyenas. Humans are designed to copy one another. If you're in a tribe and you're copying their behavior, they will identify with you, they will accept you, and then when the need arises, they will protect you. If you don't have mirror neurons and you cannot copy their behavior, they don't identify with you, they don't want you around. You're not helping to find food, find shelter, find water, protect the children. So they're going to kick you out. They're not going to risk their lives to protect you. They don't identify with you. So mirror neurons are the dominant determinant of behavior in humans, with the exception of the fear of famine brain. Now, fear of famine brain and active fear of famine brain it's got its own diagnosis, and it's called binge eating. So we do have good research by Eric Stice, who's now at Stanford, showing that dieting and fasting precede the development of binge eating, bulimia, and also anorexia. Mm-hmm. So that all of this gets translated into the single most important thing a person needs in order to change their behavior is to be in a tribe that's already engaged in that behavior, and to be around that tribe enough. I think it's at least 3 hours a day, enough to persuade and keep those mirror neurons persuaded that you are their tribe, that they are in that tribe. And that was the big breakthrough in 2018, is we learned that people's mirror neurons can be activated, engaged, protected over Zoom screens. So our program, for example, we broadcast live. There's a live host on the screen 15 hours out of every 24. And that's what you need. You need that much time, because otherwise your mirror neurons are going to think, well, we see them an hour a day or whatever. But with these other people who are eating processed foods, your family, your co-workers, people on the street, every time you go into a restaurant or a grocery store or any food environment, the break room at work, the hour, there's a coffee hour at your faith organization, your sports organizations. Everybody is using this. Americans eat 73% of their food in processed foods. So you have to go to a tremendous amount of effort to be hanging out with people who don't eat processed foods. And that's the barrier, that you can't find them. 93% of Americans have a diet-related diagnosis. So your mirror neurons are going to say, well, we need to fit in. So we need to eat processed foods and we need to be sick. So when you come into the ARC, you get...
What's the ARC?
The ARC,
just for our listeners.
The ARC is our community. It's our online community. And you can get started there at foodaddictionreset.com. You have... You just at the flick of a screen, just by opening your Zoom screen, you can be in that very, very precious tribe, a tribe that's not eating processed foods, where your brain can copy. Humans don't do well imagining original behavior and then carrying it out for the long term. Mirror neurons prevent that. They are the dominant force in the brain. Mirror neurons work by observing somebody doing something and then actually instructing the brain cells around it to do that. So this is why what you watch on screens is so important. Like if you're watching people on screens eat processed foods or engage in violent behavior, that's going to be your tendency. Yeah. So that's, the patent was awarded because we have a combination of services. It's 15 hours a day of live Zoom screen. It's a daily uplifting email. It's a daily podcast. It's a Facebook group, a confidential Facebook group. It's a whole library of videos. And all you have to do is engage. All you have to do is listen. All you have to do is just get that intense awareness that your mirror neurons are creating your behavior. And then everything else is easy, kind of.
Well, I'm a visual learner, and it does really help me personally when I see something and I experience something hands-on. And I think I totally agree with you as far as our memory, right? There's a innate ancestral wisdom in each human being. And I think that we all have access to it. It's just a matter of reconnecting, not through imagination, like you said, but with real world hands-on experience to see, oh, that's how we used to be. And that's natural and that's normal. And that's what's going to make me feel good and enjoy life more.
Yeah.
It's not about suffering and sacrifice and, never enjoying food again, all those things that we associate with, being healthy. We talk about that too on the podcast a lot, is just transforming the narrative, like what you do.
Yeah. Well, I think a big part of the narrative is this is my fault. And if you're going to transform one part of the neighborhood, I would start there. This is something that was done to you by the tobacco industry when they came over into processed foods. So I think we could, I would like to leave with that message. This is not your fault. Do visit us at foodaddictionreset.com, and we will, we teach 150 skills, and we want to surround you. We're fighting surround marketing by the tobacco food industry, and we give you surround recovery. And just have hope. Please be hopeful.
Well, you definitely have given me hope, Dr. Ifland. And again, I talk about you all the time. I think that you do incredible work. Your communities are solid and reliable, right? We need reliable support in our health journey.
Yeah.
So you've always been there for me. We've gone out to lunch together. You always let me ask you all the questions.
Yes, I love your dad. I mean, he's a marvelous man.
Yeah, so I hope we get to meet up again soon in person.
Indeed.
We're not too far from each other.
Right.
And I will be sure to put in the show notes your website, your book, where to buy it, how to get involved with your support groups, and then all the other research that you mentioned. I'll be sure to get those links from you. And
thank you.
Please don't be a stranger. I hope that we can see each other soon.
Yeah.
And to our audience, thank you for being part of our village, because we are the magic of metabolic health.
Yes.
So we will see you next time.
Thanks, Amelia. Take care.
Thanks, Joan. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We're bringing healthy back. Them other bros don't know about the facts.